think my brother is downloading a big file on the Wi-Fi.
My brother is downloading big file on the Wi-Fi.
Why your brother big file download?
Get the download off of Wi-Fi, put it on wired, and go with the files.
Tell your brother download big Wi-Fi file in hour and half. All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Rated M for Podcast, your favorite video game podcast, a part of the Rated M Gaming Network. Today is December 7th, and I'm your host, Drew Freeman. I'm sorry if I'm yelling at you. I'm just so damn hyped. Joining me today, as always, is my brother from another North American country, Mr. Rory, Red Eye Games Live Wood.
Shoryuken!
Oh, nice. Damn.
Shoryuken.
Hi, guys.
Excuse me, Rory, that was uncalled for.
Does he roll his R when he says Shoryuken?
Shoryuken! He doesn't.
He's got a little wispy mustache. His name is now Ryu.
Ryu.
Ryu Suave.
So I'd also like to welcome back as the official co-host of Rated M Podcast, Alex No Motherfucking Doors Hirsch.
Whoop, whoop. What's going on, guys?
Hey, buddy.
Hey.
How you doing?
That's to be determined.
We'll figure that out over the next hour and a half.
Yeah, man.
This week we're going to be taking a look at what went down this weekend during the TGAs and Sony's PSX. The TGAs are the Game Awards, the spiritual successor to the VGAs, which were just god-awful hot garbage on television. Now it's slightly lukewarm garbage on the internet, so it's getting better. We're going to see how our predictions went, and then we're going to talk about what the fuck happened at the shows. And I guess we're also giving away something, Rory?
Yeah, we'll talk about that a little later. What we should note, though, is if you're wondering why Drew's mic sounds the way it does, he's moving, and he's packed away his actual mic.
I'm on a curb with my laptop, like stealing someone else's Wi-Fi. I'm in like pajamas.
He's on that real shit, man. He's a tin can attached, spliced into a USB cable, and plugged into a Toshiba satellite from 1996.
There's a gerbil on a wheel running it somewhere to make this happen.
He paid a homeless man to shovel coal on the side of his computer.
I actually punched a homeless man to death and stole his cardboard box. But I'll give it back. I don't need it the whole time. Yeah, I'm about to hop in a car and drive to Texas, my new home. So yeah,
home of the death penalty.
That's the home. It's also the home of William Hobart, the number one rated for podcast fan who was on an episode a few months ago.
Also known as the switch puller.
The switch puller. Jesus Christ.
Also known as the sexecutioner.
He arrested Ozzy Osbourne. I don't think he's ever killed anybody.
Those two don't have to be mutually exclusive, by the way.
That's true. So yeah, I forgot to leave my fancy schmancy Blue Yeti mic out of the boxes before I finished the show tonight, and I put everything away in my car. So pardon the poor quality of sound of me for this week. But fuck it. Let's talk about what we played video games this week. But fuck it. Rory, what'd you play this week?
Oh, I can't wait to butt fuck it. Lego Batman 3 is first up on my games played this week. Still trying to get through it. I've been busy. Got to review that sucker, so I'm going to finish it tonight, hopefully. But having a good time with it. What is a fact now that I've played, my 5th or 6th Lego game is that I still suck at Lego game puzzles. I don't know what it is. It's always like the simplest thing, like just smash everything in sight when you're stuck, and eventually you'll find a dancing pile of Lego. But I feel like in this game, less so than others, they're not even adding enough twinkle to the dancing pieces. So sometimes I'm fucking running around like an idiot for 20 minutes, and I'm like, oh, there it is, right there in the middle of the screen with all those crazy lights pointing right at it, and there's a runway of glowing orbs telling me right here, and I'm just fucking totally missing it. But having a lot of fun with that one. Some neat little surprises popped up that I wasn't expecting. Conan O'Brien is in the game, and if it's not him, it's a guy doing a Conan voice. But I wouldn't be surprised.
Conan's been in a few games,
so I wouldn't be surprised though. They call him Conan O'Brien, and it's like, "Hi, I'm Conan O'Brien," da 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 da, and he's in the game. He's in the game as a custodian to the Hall of Justice and the Batcave. So the first time I went to the Batcave, he welcomed me in and then told me what was up in the Batcave, and then I ran into him into the Hall of Justice. So yeah, he hangs out there and just tells you like what's going on, what's up, which is kind of
That's
wild,
legit,
and
though.
I enjoyed that. Another fun little thing that's popped up is that Adam West is like in the level multiple times, at least once per level, but I've seen him a few times. You hear him like screaming, and he's stuck. He needs like rescuing. You have to kind of like solve a little puzzle or use a character's ability to get him. But Adam West is throughout the game like continuously going like, "Help! Help me! Little help over here." That was a terrible Adam West impression, but he's in the game, and that was fun. And there's just a lot of charm. The game's
I'm
fucking
Adam West and I need help.
basically. But it's fucking charming. Those guys, Traveler's Tales, I believe, is the developer. TT Games.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
they've been a hit and miss with some of the Lego games, but overall fairly solid. And this one feels like a pretty solid one so far. There's just great little details. Like the Flash is one of my favorite characters to look at, and he whips around the screen with like that sort of like electric red and yellow blaze behind him. But if you just like tap on the analog just slightly as if you were gonna like just creep in any other game, he does creep, but he still animates really fast. So he's like running extremely fast on the spot as you're kind of just like, inching him along. It's pretty fucking hilarious. And Wonder Woman and Superman, the moment you take off and start flying around, it plays their own music. So Wonder Woman has the
That's
Wonder Woman sort of like theme going,
how that
Oh,
and
goes.
that's cool,
and
man.
Superman has his classic Superman theme going as well, the Richard Donner thing. Great music, great charm. It's pretty. It's classic
Did you
Lego.
ever
But what's that?
have you ever heard the challenge, the Richard Donner challenge? Wait, is it Richard Donner? It's not the Richard Donner, but also the guy that did the Indiana Jones music and the Star Wars music, and like
John
the
Williams.
challenge is John Williams. Thank you. I knew there was Williams in there. I couldn't think of how it went. So John Williams music, along with the old the old Superman movie song. Like the challenge is, and you're supposed to do this just fresh off the street, not while you're actually thinking about this stuff. You walk up to somebody and you think of the Star Wars soundtrack, like the Star Wars theme song, and so the person thinks of it, and then you say, okay, now think of the Indiana Jones song, and that person thinks of it, and they're like, okay, now think of the Superman song, and it's supposed to be like hard to discern between them once you start thinking of like the tunes and how they go because they all live in the same area
Mm-hmm.
of like notes and stuff, and it's kind of weird. Like all three of those songs are so. I was just thinking about that recently, so it's funny that you mentioned that.
No, next time I'm out doing
It's
a
really
video
funny that
interviewing people,
was.
I'll get him to do it.
You
Yeah,
should.
it's really funny that was brought up because I was actually singing the Indiana Jones theme song that had in like kind of humming it along in the grocery store just this evening
Dun,
while I
dun,
was meaning
dun,
to
dun,
be humming one of the tracks from the Star Wars, the Star
There
Wars
you go.
track.
See, yeah,
That was
yeah.
like today.
Yeah, it's like a challenge. It's a funny little challenge. If you ever do like a Comic-Con thing for Red Eye Games Live or something, you should challenge people to that.
I definitely
Like tell
will.
them to hum it like on the
Oh yeah,
spot.
that would be incredible.
Um, so what else did you play?
And I've been dabbling in Far Cry 4 as well, just trying to get through that. I haven't had a lot of time this week to game as
You
much
should
as I
you
want.
should finish that as soon as possible so you can send it to me.
Yeah. Keep asking, Drew. Keep asking.
I'm gonna keep at it. Yeah, Christmas is only a couple weeks away.
But yeah, I'm really enjoying that game. The more I play it, the more I like it. It hasn't grabbed me the way Far Cry 3 did, but I was having conversations with some others a few days ago about just that, and it really does come down to the fact that like Far Cry 3 was just such a jump and felt fresh coming off of Far Cry 2, and it played quite
And
different.
this
So
definitely builds off of Far Cry 3.
yeah, it's not fresh. It doesn't feel fresh. It's more of the same, which is more of good stuff, but yeah, it hasn't grabbed me quite the same way. But once I get in there and I start playing it, like I have a fucking blast. So yeah, Far Cry and Lego Batman 3. Those have been my the two games I put the most time into this week.
Swag. Alex,
Yes,
you played them video games?
I played them video games.
What'd you play? Tell me how to play video games, bruh.
So I played a bunch of actually played a lot of really weird shit this weekend, but I would say in order of like most to least. Well, no, that's incorrect. First off, I played some Destiny. Let's just start that way. Like, well, it's a given. I played Destiny. My birthday was yesterday, so I had like.
Happy fucking birthday, motherfucker.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So my wife took
Uh-huh.
all the kids and everything out, and I just kind of had like a day, essentially, like almost an entire day at home alone by myself, strictly to just play video games and screw off, and
The
it
first
was
thing I
amazing.
pictured was that scene in 40-Year-Old Virgin when he's alone and he's about to masturbate. That's what I was like. Your wife leaves, your kids leave, she's giving you alone time, and you're just laying in the bed. You got some candles going, some like Barry Manilow or something. But
Like
video games is a
ultra
better
quick
answer.
tangent. Well, ultra quick tangent on that. So I was telling a guy about it yesterday. This guy was like, some random guy was running the raid with in Destiny, and he said something like, "Yeah, man. So what? This random guy. We're getting to know each other." He's like, "So what have you been up to today, man?" And I'm like, "Oh, just hanging out. My wife took my kids," and he like interrupted me immediately and was like, "I'm so sorry." Like he didn't let me finish to say for the day. It was just like, "No, my wife just left and took my kids. No big deal."
My wife shot my dog and destroyed my router and then took my children.
Fucking exploded my truck. No, but I played Destiny. I managed to do the raid like what I consider one last time in air quotes, which I'm gonna do it again because I just enjoy doing it. But
Sure.
my kind of like my final raid before the DLC drops.
Yeah.
And I was hoping I'm at a point in my life in Destiny where I need either I think I might have explained this last week, either a level 30 legendary helmet or chest. I have exotics to cover both of those slots.
Right.
I'm just kind of waiting on one or the other to happen. And it has not happened yet. Did not happen yesterday again. I was infuriated. I turned Destiny off and I haven't touched it since. That's not indicative of the future, but I just needed a break because I moved on to playing a different game, which I'll talk about in a second. But I played a little bit of Halo this weekend, as you know, Drew. I was playing with you and some of the other rated M guys.
Yes, we struggled through that. Well, that was the.
That was for Evolve.
We had an impromptu game night Thursday night, but then Friday night we had the podcast Evolve game night.
True. Yeah. Well, I mean, and that was fun. That was like, just kind of standard rage at this point with matchmaking sucking with friends, but then we did customs and that was cool. So, I had a good time.
Yeah.
And then I played this game. Well, okay, secondly, thirdly, I was invited to the Heroes of the Storm Alpha. I have not tried that yet, guys, but I will
want
be
you to
reporting
try
on
it
it.
just for me.
What is
do
it?
Yeah.
Or either that or let me fucking do it. I'll do it.
It's linked. It's when they send it to my email. It's like already linked to my account.
Okay.
Yeah. But Heroes of the Storm is the it's like the MOBA for the Blizzard's making. With featuring all the characters from all of Blizzard's universes.
Yeah.
And Blizzard is known for having that game that is for the people who don't play that genre. That's why I want to try that game.
Yeah. So, it's going to be legit. I just haven't tried it yet. But it's an early technical alpha, so there's not a whole lot going on. You can spend money. That's the big thing about MOBAs is they have that kind of like, not necessarily pay to win, but buying characters instead of unlocking them through XP or buying new costumes and stuff like that. You can spend money in this beta, which is kind of cool. And at the end of it, it's all wiped, but they refund your money as Blizzard credit. So in the future, you can spend it again. Yeah, so that's kind of neat. And then I moved on to this game called Shroud of the Avatar, which I'm going to talk about for just a second, and then I'm going to be done here. Because this is like a crowning achievement in my gaming life in general. So Shroud of the Avatar is a game I backed on Kickstarter a little over a year ago.
That's why I've heard of it. Okay.
Yeah. It's from the man and a small team of people, including Tracy Hickman of the Dragonlance series. But it's from a group of people from the man who created Ultima and Ultima Online, Richard Garriott, also known as Lord British. And then there are a couple other devs on the team. It's a very small team, very small, I think less than 10 people. And it was kickstarted immediately, it was this runaway success on Kickstarter, blah, 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 blah. And I got a relatively low buy-in for a second responder tier that gave me access to every alpha and every beta until launch, and the game itself.
Nice.
Which is really cool. So,
real quick, what kind of game is Shroud of the Avatar?
Well, Shroud of the Avatar is an MMORPG, a lot like Ultima Online was back in the day.
Okay.
But it's not But it's not a top-down isometric like Ultima Online was. It's your typical, third-person over the shoulder, blah blah blah.
World of Warcraft type game.
Yeah. It's a little rough around. Well, it's very rough around the edges. If I showed you screenshots, you'd probably laugh. But for an old school Ultima Online fan, that's where I cut my teeth in the genre. It brings me home because it's very much Richard Garriott's baby. It's a very small team. He has all the say. EA, Mythic, whoever, Broadsword are not associated with this at all. Huh. So this is a whole standalone thing, but it retains so much influence from that series, and even things down to certain names and locations are the same names and locations, which is really cool.
It's a bit of a spiritual successor like BioShock to System Shock type thing.
Very much so. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, long story short, I tried it in December, release 1 of the pre-alpha, right? And I logged in, and I got in there, and it looked really clunky. It looked like slightly better than EverQuest, but not as good as 2004 World of Warcraft. And I was like,
Wow.
that's horrible.
Rough.
And there was nothing to do. It was a technical alpha. It was literally just them testing to see if you could get into the game as a player. That was all that alpha was for.
Yeah.
So I got in and I walked around a little bit and was like, wow, this looks like shit. I can't wait to come back later when there's things to do. And I didn't log back in ever until a year later, which was this weekend, yesterday. I log in because I had an email saying, hey, release 12 happened and blah, blah, blah. And I was going through deleting old emails and decided to check it out and reinstalled, jumped into the IRC chat and started talking to some friendly people. And now Ultima is an old school game, so the community around those are really, really strong and really helpful, and there are very few trolls. It's really great.
Yeah, so they've been through the ringer a few times. So.
Yeah, and also, I'll be honest, most of those people are like over 30, so that does,
True that.
you know, there's
That's
that.
a good point too.
So anyway, I ended up kind of meeting a couple people, talking to them. They gave me some instruction and some information. I met up in game and the first thing I did was I was like, I'm installing the game, but I want to read about how to play and all the systems and stuff because it's very complicated, much more so than any other MMO most people have played.
Okay, you said long story short like 3 times now. So what happened, Alex?
Okay, so what happened was I got into the game. My very first thing, I logged in before I was done preparing myself because there was a player-run event going on.
Right? Oh, right.
Which was cool. And it's completely customized, whatever. It was great. Even the landscape and everything and the buildings and all that stuff, completely player-made, awesome. So I get in and I'm like, I'm home. This is great. I'm talking to the people I was talking in the chat. Lo and behold, no one, Richard Garriott himself shows up, right? And it's the guy developing the game, the guy that made Ultima, the guy that like literally has inspired my love of MMOs in general, shows up. These developers, as it turns out, practically live in this game. They are always there playing, talking with players, having them test stuff. Like they'll place items down that they've made in Unity and they'll say, hey man, can you sit on this bench and tell me if it looks right? Do I need to make it a little bit bigger? Is it a little bit smaller? What, like all kinds of shit. This actually happens.
Cool, man.
So I sat long story short, I'll shut up now. I got to sit for like 2 hours and talk to Richard Garriott about how much I loved Ultima, about how much the game is looking really great and how excited I am and just all this stuff. And we had a little bit of a role-playing session in a bar. It was great. I'm talking major fanboy dream come true right there. I'm like the happiest guy ever.
Like that's pretty awesome.
Yes, absolutely.
That's pretty awesome.
So anyway, sorry guys, but that's it.
I played video games.
Good.
I played Destiny with Alex. He talked about that. I wanted to include a real quick story about an actual, like, literal real quick story, like a real life real quick story, not an Alex and Sean real quick story. I don't know what
for an hour.
You guys have weird. Anyways, we were playing on Earth, and Alex did something, and I come around the corner, and he's not animating, like he just floats around, like he's like he looks like he's just standing, but he's floating around because he's actually running around shooting at stuff. And his gun is just like being held as if he's just standing there, but bullets are coming out of his gun at like random angles because he's not facing the same direction as he is on my screen, and that was ridiculous. But then when he got on his Sparrow, it worked. It animated him getting on his Sparrow and flying around. But then as soon as he got off, he was still just standing around, and it was funny because he'd do the jump glide thing as a warlock, and so his body is just gliding through the air. Like standing straight up. I don't know. It was super
completely
dumb.
Rigid. Yeah, I watched those videos. That was great, man.
Got to play with swords over on Earth. Swords of Crota have been showing up in Destiny randomly. That's been kind of cool.
Do they only last for a couple minutes or something, though? Like, you don't find it...
Yeah, there's a time frame on it.
Okay.
It's like a 30-second thing or something. And you know when it's coming because the sword, like, slowly catches on fire. So, like, this green fire thing. And so it'll, like, fizzle out eventually, and then it'll just disappear.
Gotcha.
But you can almost always get to a super when you have the sword, and doing the supers with the swords is really cool. I like that the only problem I have with it is like if you've killed a bunch of people to get to the sword, then there's at least 10 seconds of you running around wishing there was like swaths of enemies to kill, and they're just not there. They do throw enemies at you, but it's not like it's not the way you would want it to be. I would want like just tons and tons of hive to come pouring out of a cave for you to cut through. It doesn't do that, but it's still really fucking cool. Played some Halo, working on the Halo 3 campaign. Matchmaking is starting to work. We did customs for Halo game night. That was a lot of fun. There was a patch that came out, or patch notes that came out literally 30 minutes ago. It's 8:30 on Sunday night right now, and this patch is supposed to be the one. We'll see. We'll see. I'll report back next weekend and let you guys know how it went. This is supposed to be the one that's going to fix the Master Chief Collection, and I think if there was ever a time to try to do it, the week that the Destiny DLC comes out is probably the best week to try to like say, hey, no, hey, whoa, where are you going?
Yeah.
Come back, play our game. Especially when they only have 2 weeks until the Halo 5 beta starts. So kind of want to fix your game before everybody runs off to try to beta test your next game. So I don't know. We'll see. But we also asked the community, what game have you logged the most hours in this year? And the unanimous answer was Destiny. We got a poll on Facebook, had 13 votes for Destiny. The next highest one was Titanfall with 4 votes. And then I grabbed some comments out of the comment thread. So I'll read some of those off. David Magana, longtime Rated M listener, said that let's see, I'll read it off. I've got about 150 hours each in Titanfall and Battlefield. Dragon Age, have about 70 in, but I bet we'll be over 150 by January. It's just such a huge game. So that guy's got, let's see, that's 450 hours between 3 games. That's pretty freaking good. Timothy Slattam, well, I thought it was going to be Minecraft, and he said that he logged 103 hours in Minecraft. He put some screenshots up, but then he commented on his own comment saying, but then I saw Battlefield 4 with 406 hours. So apparently this dude has 400 plus hours in Battlefield 4, which if you look back at Battlefield 4 over the last year, that's impressive because
yes, it is.
like there was a good part of the last year that you couldn't play Battlefield. So it's very nice. Good job. And then Terry Van Pier, says Payday 2 for me, which I like to include because I thought that was a nice kind of not so obvious game. He said he clocked in over 366 hours in that game, just robbing banks and shooting cops with friends. Fun as heck. Spending so much time goofing off in games with your mates does that. So I thought that was pretty cool. So I wanted to ask you guys real quick, if you had to guesstimate, or if you've actually had a chance to look, what game have you logged the most hours in this year? So, Alex, go ahead and go first.
Games that I've clocked the most time in this year, I'd say Destiny, not Ultima Online, I'm sorry, still in the brain. Destiny, The Elder Scrolls Online, and Skyrim, probably. Oh, yeah, Diablo. Yeah, I played a lot of Diablo this year.
We played a shit ton of Diablo this year. Yeah. What about you, Rory? I know you like to. You're kind of a video game butterfly. You jump around a lot.
Dude, I play a game, I finish it, and I fucking moving on to the next game. As Alex was talking, I was trying to think like, what would I have put a lot of time into? There may have been something I put more time into, but off the top of my head, I put, I don't know, maybe 50 hours into Shadow of Mordor. Like I haven't played any big RPGs this year that have like kind of made me stick around and play over and over and over again in a massive like continuing world, you know. Far Cry will end up probably being one of my most played when it's all said and done. And I get Dragon Age for Christmas, I hope. So I'll squeeze in a lot of hours, you know, into that game before the end of the year. But yeah, I don't play big games.
That'll be a lot of January, I'm sure.
Yeah, I just I play my game, I put my time in, I finish, and then I'm done. Like I'm out next game.
Word. I think mine would have to be Diablo 3 because I've played it pretty much all year. Destiny, I've got over 300 hours in, so that probably has the top spot. And then I would say GTA 5, but I burned out on GTA 5 last year, so that's probably my top played game of last year, but I wouldn't be surprised if I played enough of it this year for it to technically kind of count as like my top 3 this year or something. If I had picked it up when it came out, I promise you I would have over 100 hours in it already. I want to play that game so bad. So let's move on. Like I said at the beginning of the show, this weekend was the inaugural Game Awards and the PlayStation Experience. So last week we made predictions.
Buddy.
Why don't we just dive into those predictions? Rory, you said Siphon Filter will be revealed at the Game Awards on Friday, December 5th.
Yeah, that was a bomb hard, man. That was a bomb.
It's a hard no, Rory.
I knew I was
Alex.
reaching on it. You know that I like to make a wild one sometimes,
Yeah.
and that was my wild one. But that was not even close.
Yeah, that would have been a big announcement. That would have been really fucking crazy. I don't really think,
There wasn't.
personally, I don't think there were any like real major announcements.
No.
There were major things shown off, but
No, it
not
felt
really
like one of the more underwhelming Game Award shows, actually, in recent memory.
compared to past
Just in the
yeah,
fact of
when,
big reveals, yeah.
yeah, it's because Skyrim was revealed back in the day, and so anyways, Alex said that the Elder Scrolls Online is going to get a console date, even though Bethesda said we will only be there to support our friends at Machine Games for Wolfenstein. You said the Elder Scrolls Online is going to get a release date.
Well, I said that before that was tweeted.
Yeah, and even then, you can't
What?
trust those tweets.
Oh,
You
yeah,
can't,
I
you
guess
can't
that's
trust a
true.
giant corporation coming out and saying, "By the way, guys, we're not showing that thing you want." Wink, wink.
Right?
True story. But you also said Final Fantasy XIV will be revealed to be on Xbox One, which, the more I thought about that, the more I was kind of excited by that. I think it would be kind of cool for reasons we'll talk about in the future. But that also did not happen. And I famously said Fallout 4 will be revealed, and then like the next day, Bethesda tweeted, "We're not going to reveal anything at the Game Awards." So yeah, we both fell for that.
Yep.
And then Demon Beta. What the fuck was I talking about?
I was trying to figure that out too.
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
Whoa.
Demon/beta with Doom.
What the fuck did I type?
Demo, maybe a demo.
Demo.
That's what-
A Fallout 4 demo with
Oh,
Demon.
yeah, you did.
Hey
that's
guys,
what
we
it
have a
was.
script behind the show.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I was looking.
A
I
loose
was
outline.
like, Demon Beta. What the fuck? All right.
Demon Beta. Hey man, we're gonna get that sick Demon Beta with Fallout 4.
Can't
Can't
wait.
wait for the Demon
Doom
beta
next
today.
year. I don't know. We'll see. So why don't we talk a little bit about what actually happened at the Game Awards? Alex, I'll let you kind of take the lead on this. So, how did that go? How'd the Game Awards go, buddy?
All right. So, first of all, they opened up pretty solid. I gotta say, like when they kind of pulled the so-called curtains back, and they had
Sick
some.
Marty O'Donnell music and the voiceover stuff. Right?
Say what?
Wasn't that the voiceover and the Marty O'Donnell music and everything at the beginning?
No, it was.
Yeah, they were.
I thought it was
I'm
Koji
talking.
Kano or whatever, and the piano and the costume
Yeah.
Oh
music.
shit! Okay.
And the Mario Maker thing opens up, and I'm like, oh damn, Mario Maker information, like off the bat, that's great.
Yeah.
That was cool. Not a whole lot to really say about it. It was just kind of like, hey guys, we're still making that Mario level editor. If you didn't have access to the internet in 2003, we got this thing coming to your Wii U. But it actually looks awesome. It looks really cool. I'll buy that. Tacoma happened. I'm actually going to go through. There was so much that happened here,
Yeah,
and a lot of it's just really trailers, and so it's kind of like we can say, hey, a trailer happened.
Well, are we gonna share our opinion on what we saw then of these games?
Yeah,
Sure,
Like for
yeah.
the bigger stuff, let's go ahead and do that.
Just quickly, yeah, because like Mario Maker for me though, I know it's not a big like AAA thing, but I saw that at E3. It looked interesting. Like I had fun with it. But when they showed more information on it, and they showed that there was Super Mario Brothers 3 skins in there,
Yeah,
Super Mario
I know.
World from the SNES stuff, I was like, fuck.
See that?
Yes.
Yeah. Once they showed that, I was like, that's better. That's much better than what they've showed so far of Mario Maker. And I think I remember saying,
Alex
said,
and Rory will spend their lives in this game.
yeah, Rory will spend the rest
Oh
of his life.
man,
in this game.
I was in love, and it also reaffirmed to me though that like seeing all three of those, the 3 or 4 different skins all like back to back as they were flipping between them, that the modern like new Super Mario Brothers 3DS kind of 2D visual is my least favorite. Like I saw the Super Mario Brothers 3 stuff in the Super Mario World, and I was like, fuck yeah, that's still the best looking like 2D Mario aesthetic. Between those two,
Yeah, I
for me,
could-
Mario World
I could agree.
and Mario 3.
Yep. Big platformer fan. I'll totally agree with you. I think Super Mario World is, and I think that's kind of the general opinion, definitely the pinnacle sprite-wise and just in general.
Since we're
That's
talking about
music,
Mario,
so
real
amazing
quick,
game.
I retweeted a bunch of tweets that I'm going back to make sure that I find, because just some people had some of the most like spot on like criticisms or jokes about the night, and Adam Kovic said the 2014 Nintendo advertisement had some really cool awards in it, and I have to agree with that. Like the opening, like you said, with the Mario music and the Mario Maker, and like the extended look at that, and then obviously some more stuff that we'll talk about later. But Nintendo really killed it.
Well, Jeff,
Yeah, they really came out swinging.
Jeff probably reached out to everybody and was like, "Listen, guys, I need content, I need help, and who's there?" And like Microsoft
Dude,
is obviously
Reggie
saving
co-hosted
shit.
the show pretty much. Like some people were talking about, like Reggie did a great job co-hosting
Yeah.
the Game Awards.
Yeah.
Nintendo
He
clearly
was there
stepped
like
up,
every
man, to
10
help them
minutes.
fill content wise anyway.
Well, what's amazing
since
to me
Xbox
about that
wasn't there, which is weird, very weird.
Yeah, well, what blows my mind about that whole thing is like this is the type of stuff, like a lot of the stuff we saw, which we'll be talking about in a couple minutes. A lot of the stuff we saw is the kind of things that you would see in a Nintendo Direct, like, and not not say on a show floor or on an awards show or whatever else. And I was like, wow, this is pretty wild, But as far as Mario Maker goes, I mean, that was that was pretty legit. We got to see a lot of the cool stuff you can do as far as how it works and everything, and we got to see the different skins and how you could kind of switch between things on the fly. That was really neat. I'm excited for it. I know, like Drew and Roy were saying, that's awesome.
I'm hoping that it stands. I'm hoping that it holds up. I'm hoping that that demo that they showed
I have 100%
is indicative of the level of quality of like how it will run.
I saw it in E3 flipping between, the skins like on the fly and stuff. Like the game seems solid. It just now that we're seeing more added on top, I'm stoked. I still need to know if we can have working pipes and stuff. I don't know if they showed that during the conference, but
they didn't. But some of the stuff that they added and the functionality that they showed made me kind of feel better about that. I'm like, they have to have working pipes. Like
and warps, right? I want warps and stuff.
And secrets, right? Like holding down on the white block to go behind the world and stuff. Like you should be able to build that into your own game.
Totally.
Anyways, moving on. What was next?
Tacoma was next.
Which one was that? Remind me.
Okay,
Tacoma was the space station from the makers of Gone Home.
Oh, right. Yeah. Interesting tease,
I was actually
I got nothing.
There's nothing there, but I was actually art style wise, I got a really strong BioShock.
Yes, dude, that's what I was
Yeah, that was what it was.
It was like BioShock in space.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I felt about it, which why the fuck have we not had a BioShock in space now that I think about it? Like, oh, that would be so good. So since we're talking about Tacoma, I wanted to point out, I mentioned this to Alex because I chatted with him in an Xbox Live party while watching the whole thing, and so much space. Like all of this, like so about 5 years ago, zombies were everywhere. Zombies were in everything. Like they practically should have made a zombie version of The View with like zombie bitches up on stage talking about zombie problems. Like my hair falls out and part of my skin falls off. Like zombies were everywhere, and now all of a sudden, space is fucking everywhere. Interstellar. We're launching shit to Mars in real life now. And video games feel like they're all going to space. What was the other one? Adrift, we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
Tacoma, No Man's Sky. Like, everything is going to space. When did we all decide to do this together? Like, did I miss something? Was there a meeting that was like, what are we going to do next? Zombies are dead. Yeah. What are we going to do? Let's go to space. Okay, space everything.
Yeah, it's called Seth MacFarlane executive produced Cosmos, and Neil deGrasse Tyson is as famous as most other Kardashians.
Good point. I knew there were other things that I forgot to touch on, but man, we're fucking spacing it up right now.
Hell yeah, that's the best thing that's happened to humanity in 40 years.
Hey, Jaeger in the chat is saying a bunch of Fulbright guys worked on BioShock, so it's
They worked on BioShock 2 DLC, Minerva's Den, which is why they're famous, and then they went on to make Gone Home. Nice. And that I thought about that too, because when they showed the Tacoma stuff, I was like, wow, this looks like BioShock.
Yeah,
oh, wait, that's right.
Yeah, I had the same thoughts, man. That's awesome that you said that, because that's the first thing that popped in my head was just like, damn, this is like BioShock. Awesome.
Yeah. I'll take a Gone Home version of BioShock in space any day.
Yep.
All right, so next up,
Dying Light.
Woo!
Are we excited for this game?
I am.
Are you?
I could be, but
Rory, what excites you for this game?
I'm excited for it. Not
that excites. Also,
well, I'm excited for it not in the way that I'm excited for like new stuff like Quantum Break and Uncharted. I'm
It's like
excited. I'm
a
excited to play it because I love just a good open world sandbox, and the Dead Island game I fucking love, despite its glitchiness and its horrible fucking story and acting. Like I love just being on that island in that lush fucking world with those terrifying zombies and being able to level up my weapons and create stuff and craft wild things and go hack off heads.
it's so
I've
much parkour.
Yeah, so that's what Dying Light
Parkour,
looks
parkour.
like, the true evolution of Dead Island. And
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
stoked to kind of get in there. It won't be something that I'm like craving for story or anything. It's simply just to be planted in that open world sandbox, just to have a fucking good time. So I'm
So
excited about
it's
that.
funny. It's funny that you say that because the more I see of this game, the more I get interested in the story because it doesn't seem as obvious a story as it sounded like at first. So at first it felt like you're the ubiquitous go-to guy where everybody's in a survival situation and we need you to run out and save that girl or we need you to go get this stuff that fell out of this plane because fucking nobody else could possibly do it and oh
What
by
is
the
it?
way there's a bunch of other people out there trying to kill you. That's not the case. You're actually there undercover. Like you have like every now and then you'll go off the grid and you'll check in with some fucking creepy old woman who's like talking to you over some comms thing saying like good investigate the thing stick with this thing go investigate this guy and we're looking into this problem or whatever like there's some other subplot that's
Hmm.
actually the story here where you're planted there as like an undercover guy trying to figure out what happened or some shit like there's
Cool. Well,
more
hey
to
man,
it.
if they can offer a fun open world and give me a story that surprises me, I'm interested in, even better.
Yeah. Now I'm kind of interested. No, the most recent trailer, like there's a moment. There's about all right. The first 15 minutes of the game are online, and during that, like he goes off and like talks to some like other person in his radio, and I'm like, wait, what the fuck is happening? Um, it seems interesting, and I think timing wise, it'll come out at a great time for that game because there won't be anything else out. So if this had come out in like October, like this game would be fucked. But because it's coming out in January, I think it could be cool. So moving on, Metal Gear Online, right?
Yeah, man,
Yeah.
that happened.
Uh, cool. I looks like some serious fucking Metal Gear weird shit going on in a multiplayer game. The demo, I think we all agreed when we were talking in the chat when we hosted the video and hung out in the Twitch chat. Everybody was saying, "Yeah, nobody would play a game like that." It's one of those. It was one of those video game demos where everybody acted like took the scenario really seriously and
Yeah,
like
but I
covered
did.
each other.
While I agree with that for the most part, I do disagree that it can't be like that because as I said in the chat while we were watching it live was that like when Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter first shipped on Xbox 360, that was one of the first games like me and my buds really like got into and made us fall in love with online multiplayer. Like we played
Yeah,
that as like a legit squad and for the most part it was legit squads that we were facing off against because it was just a super tactile game. And I'm hoping that if I play with my friends, we're going to run into similar groups in that game. I think a lot of the random matchups are going to be every man for himself chaos and it won't be strategic, but there's definitely going to be moments where that game is played properly and it will be
I
by
think
me
it
and my
has
friends.
potential. The weird thing is even though that it has that, it also has the weird Metal Gear humor where like his fucking teammate was completely incapacitated by a cute puppy.
Yeah.
Like he couldn't do anything because he saw a cute puppy.
And you can also like
just dumb
grab
shit
the
like that.
guys with the parachute to have them get lifted up and your buddy has
That's
to pop the
hilarious.
balloon and there's some good
Yeah,
details.
yeah. It makes me think of SOCOM. Like back in the day, people used to play SOCOM like for real. Like they
Yeah.
played as if they were really in Spec Ops.
Mm-hmm.
So it has potential. I agree. All right. So next up is Bloodborne. Sean, whoever the fuck you are, Alex.
Whoa!
I'm on my second beer, and apparently that's just too much for me.
Drew's
That's
a
too
lot.
much, Drew. You're cut off.
Oh god damn it! Well, you got the beard. You trimmed it though. I need to see it trimmed.
You won't notice. It's literally the same. I just trim my sideburns because they curl like demon horns.
All right. Well, anyways, got that Bloodborne. Tell me about it.
Yeah, baby. There was actually more. There's actually more Bloodborne in the
In the
PlayStation
Sony thing?
experience.
You want to wait
Yeah,
till then?
I'm kind of like, but I will tell you this: like, it looks really cool. It's a lot more fast paced than the other Souls games were.
Yes, yeah, that's
From
something.
what I saw at TGA, so
Yep.
that was exciting because as anyone who's played the Souls series knows, that game is very much about like, especially in PvP. Oh my god, it's about timing your attacks, and really even in PvP, like timing it down to the frame. It's almost as complicated as a lot of fighting games get. So
Okay.
yeah, it's pretty exciting.
So let's move on then. We'll talk more about Bloodborne when we get to the Sony stuff, I guess.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
What's next? What is this? What's going on here?
Haze
Hazelight?
Light. Yeah.
Is that a new studio or what is that? I don't remember what the Hazelight thing was.
Isn't that the
Haze Light.
Black
There was a
Swan
teaser
guy?
reveal. It was really short. It was like I can't remember, but it's being published by EA. Let me see here.
Oh, it's the
I got
dudes
something.
from that made Brothers, right?
Yes, the
Oh
tail. Yeah,
shit, that's
yeah, yeah.
right. Yeah.
The guy with that sweater I was talking about, Drew. Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool. It was like it's in super early production. Hazelight is the studio from the people who made Brothers,
A Tale of Two Sons. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
EA bought them. Like EA signed them. That's what it
Yep.
is. So they're working on a new game, and it showed a couple guys on a boxcar, just kind of hanging
Hoboing
out on
up.
a boxcar. Yeah, being a hobos.
Yep.
It looked really cool. I like the art design, so I'm really
Yeah, it's
I'm eager to
incredible
see what
looking.
they do next because Brothers was a knockout, just out of nowhere, like a really good indie game. So this next game people might have heard of, maybe I don't know.
Nope. Nope.
No Man's Sky. Jesus, it's No Man's Sky weekend.
Oh Lord of Jesus.
I
Deservedly
guess we could
so,
talk
man.
more about this again some more later in the Sony stuff, but I think the thing that I thought was cool that we can touch on for the whole TGAs in reference to No Man's Sky is it was a fucking concert. Like there was just bands after bands after bands, and unfortunately, eventually, it led to
Don't
uh,
say it.
Alex's
Fucking
least
fucking
favorite band.
Imagine Dragons.
He
God.
was so pissed that they were there.
It's not,
Oh,
it's not a bad.
anyways,
It's not a bad song. It's got a catchy
oh
chorus.
god. Anyways, oh yeah, that whole thing was so funny, Rory, because they have so many songs that you know that I don't think you know is by them. Fucking Radioactive, the song Radioactive that was on everything ever for like a year and a half. That's Imagine Dragons.
So what you're
That's,
telling me is they're my favorite band, and I don't even know it.
They're your
yes,
accidental favorite band.
yes. Anyways, No Man's Sky. We saw some more of that. We saw stuff that we had never seen before, which that was nice considering it's a game that has quote unquote infinite possibilities. You'd think every time you saw the game, you would see something you've never seen before. Hypothetically, I don't know. Call me
Dude,
crazy.
that game does blow my mind every time I see it, though, man. I'm so
It's
impressed with what
it
just
blows
the
my mind on
concept of
paper.
it. Like the big
It blows
thing.
my mind on paper, right?
Yeah, we got to see it. We have to play it and see how it all comes together, right? They're talking a lot, but what they're showing is incredible. We don't really know what the moment-to-moment gameplay is gonna be like, and if there's an end
That's the only
game.
thing that helps me know this is like how is the moment to moment, and how well will I be able to play with friends, and then everything else has clearly got me sold. Like if everything else that they say is going to happen happens, I'll be stoked. But if I sit down to play it and I get bored before I even get to the point where everything is really cool, that's a problem.
Well,
But
I could foresee that
I'm sure
happening
they've
for a
thought
lot
of
of people, man. I don't think this is going to be a
it. I think
big
so too.
game with a huge wide audience in on that level, but it's going to be
No, but I think the
it's
people
going to
that
be a
play
lot
it
of
will
just
probably love
exploring,
it
I
very
think.
passionately. Yeah.
But I
Lord
will
will play
say
it.
just one thing on it that like really blew my mind was that they keep advertising and showing that everything is procedurally generated, and that's even why you see when you're flying low on the planets and stuff, you'll see like a fade in of geometry and stuff, and it's because it's not even there, like it's not on the disc. It's all being like rendered in real time in front of you, and the moment like it's behind you and it's gone, it's not there anymore. So like the
Oh,
file size of the game is going to be tiny compared to most games. And not only that, but the music itself is all procedurally generated as well. Like they have the band doing the soundtrack and creating music, but the music is going to be randomly sort of generated and pieced together depending on the environment you're in that was created there as well, and the creatures that are on it, and it's going to try and put music together that fits that world. So not only will you be finding and seeing things potentially for the first time before anybody else and naming them, but you might also be hearing something for the first time that even the developers haven't heard themselves. Like it's fucking mind blowing, man. Woo!
Yeah, that's pretty incredible.
That shit crack. That shit
Yeah,
sound
but we
nice.
got to see if it all comes together. But I mean, yeah, the implications of future game development if they pull this
So
off is huge.
to transition from overwhelming to underwhelming, we saw Until Dawn gameplay
What?
actually
Yeah, I
be
know.
played in front of us at both the TGAs and the PlayStation Experience, and
It looked
I
bad,
did
Joe.
I did not like it. I thought it looked fucking terrible.
Did they show
I'm not
something
gonna lie.
different at the PSX than they did?
So
I missed
so
the
the
PSX
PS
footage.
so the gameplay at Until Dawn, when she went into the bedroom, like she hid under the bed and the guy flipped up the bed and killed her. In I mean at the TGAs at PSX, like the guy played it on stage and he had everybody decide what he did next, and so he ran, and so it went a little longer, but it was just it was more the same shit. Like she just ran to another area, and then it was like tilt your fucking PlayStation Move enabled DS4 in one way or another and push a button, and you only have a certain amount of time to decide. So I will give Until Dawn the benefit of the doubt that it could be a really cool Twitch streamers game where you have people in the chat saying like go left, or like throw the thing, or like just fucking kill this bitch, she's terrible, like move on,
Yeah,
let's play as
that's
another
gonna work
character.
with the lag of Twitch.
Right, yeah, no, exactly, good point. But that thing, like I could see it working for that, but beyond that, this looks like the dumbest game. Like, why would you play this by yourself?
Well, it's like graphically bad. It's like a bad '80s slasher flick, but not ironic. You know,
Yeah,
Well, I
it's
gotta.
like
just
that's the other thing too. For it to be almost entirely created out of pre-rendered like animations, I was super underwhelmed by
oh
the
yeah.
game engine. But it
Yeah,
looks like something. I mean, this game started life as a PS3 Move title, I think, and now it's here. So this is like, I was saying, this is like the PlayStation 4 version of Rise. Like this is just a thing that like
Sure.
has survived through many iterations, and
yeah, but
now,
with even less interactivity. Like that was my big
but
problem
it
and
has a cool
disappointment seeing it.
concept to it.
The
I'll
concept's
give it that.
awesome, but I kept
Yeah,
hearing from people that have like played it at prior events and stuff that like it's like Heavy Rain, and maybe it is, but what I've seen isn't like Heavy Rain. Heavy Rain
it's
at least
so
allows you to
far
kind of like control the
like
character and have
yeah,
some gameplay in there among the QuickTime events. Whereas like when I saw Until Dawn, I was just like, this is just a movie with QuickTime events basically. And on top of that, like you guys said, like the very first image, I saw the texture of the wall pop in. And then I saw a couple
oh,
janky animations, and I was like, "What the fuck? Why isn't if this is just like an interactive movie? Why isn't it
there is like
jaw
fucking
dropping?"
nothing else happening on the screen. There's no AI. There's no anything going on. Why does this look like shit?
Anyways, yeah, I
I don't
want it
know.
to be good. I hope it's
Yeah,
good, but I hope there's gameplay actually in there, and it's not just an interactive like QuickTime event. I want to be able to
yeah,
at
we'll
least control
see.
the character around and do some searching and stuff. And
Oh, for sure. All right, so moving on to a much prettier, but to me equally underwhelming game. The Order 1886 had some more gameplay. Man, this game looks boring. I don't know. I like it. It doesn't look like a bad game. It just looks like it would have been an incredibly stellar knockout game for the PS3, and
Yes.
instead it's just a really good game for the PS4, and
But you
not.
know what?
well, a really
I
good
bet
game
it's gonna
sounds
have a
pretty
pretty
good.
cool story.
Sure, no, for sure. You're right, Rory. But there's a lot. There's a lot riding on the Order right now, and I think that's what upsets me about it. Just as far as like, whenever I see it, there's nothing that has caught my like excitement yet, and that bums me out because the Order is supposed to be, one of the next big games for the PlayStation. It should be like first party AAA. Hey, take that, Xbox faggots! Like I'm playing this game, like and then we get to turn around and say, well, we got Quantum Break, so darn it, both of our games are kind of like neat, but not like blowing people's minds. I don't know. That was just my take on it. Alex, what did you think about the Order?
It looks like a game that would be much like. Okay, so here's the deal. I liken it to Dishonored, and I realize there's kind of a similar aesthetic there, and that's probably most of the reason that comes to mind.
That might be.
Just, but Dishonored was had a pretty cool story to it and some decent gameplay, but overall was like kind of underwhelming for what it was kind of touted to be. And I think that's what the Order 1886 is going to be like. It's going to be decent in most regards, on a real scale of things, probably a 75 to an 80 out of 100, but
I would
not that great.
slightly disagree with you for the sake of I think Dishonored came out of nowhere, which is what benefited that game. Like people were really
True.
excited for it after the fact. The Order has
It's
like
been
some
hyped
clout,
pretty
it has
hard.
some
Yeah.
clout to it. Like people are anticipating it to be really cool. I think the thing that has that the Order has going for it is it is a very unique setting and a cool premise, and there are some cool things that they're doing with the weapons in the game um, that could make it feel fresh when you play it. But when you look at it, it's. I mean, all right. So I was talking to a friend of mine who was at PAX, and he said that halfway through the demo, and this was a few months ago, so maybe it's different now. But halfway through the demo, he put the controller down and walked away because he was just bored. Because
Mm.
it felt like Gears of War. It played like any other cover-based shooter. And when I was watching the demo, the thing that stuck out to me that bothered me was the dude was like, "Target down, reloading, blah blah blah," and it really just like took me out of that. Like, hey, shouldn't we be kind of really feeling like we're in this like unique, cool environment with this interesting setting and these cool characters. And the guy's talking like he's in some fucking Call of Duty game. Like I don't know, it was a weird combination. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
the
I'll be honest. If
presentation was
I
weird to me.
I'll be honest, if I pick up a PlayStation 4, which I don't own currently for anyone who doesn't know me yet,
Sure.
if I pick up a PS4 before or like in the like 6 months after that game launches, I will buy the order. I will play it. It looks
Okay.
interesting enough to warrant 60
But yeah,
bucks for me.
visually, I mean, the engine, from what I can tell, is fantastic, and visually,
Sure.
it's a real looker. So
But I do kind of agree with you to where it kind of seems like everything about this game is like recycled, but just a little bit better. And I'm wondering if it can
sure,
be better than
it's
the sum of
possible.
all its parts. You know?
That's a good point.
But if
That's a
it
great way to
does
look at it.
like
It's
if
possible.
it may end up being generic from a gameplay perspective, but like if it plays as well as like Gears does, at its best, and it has those visuals and the seamless cinematics and a good story, like I'm in, right? Like I don't need
I
it
would
to be a
agree. I
game
would agree.
changer. Like I like playing things if they've got amazing visuals and good storytelling and the gameplay is just mediocre, just as much as I enjoy playing something with like mediocre next to shit story, but awesome like moment to moment gameplay, like Dead Island for example. It's just like if Bloodborne is just Gears of War, but with a smarter story and better visuals, I'm fucking all over that.
So next up, we have The Witcher 3. I thought it was really funny. Rory, do you wanna talk about the guy that was presenting The Witcher 3?
No, I'll comment that he seemed he could potentially have been a little bit of drunk. I don't know. I got drunk with all those guys at E3, and they like their beer.
That was so funny.
That
So
was great in the chat. Yeah.
He was talking about the whole point of The Witcher being at the Game Awards was debuting a new trailer showing off a new playable character. Apparently, The Witcher 3 is going to have two different playable characters, a la Halo 2 or Metal Gear Solid 3. Was it 3?
Metal Gear
Or is
Solid
it 2?
2, you played as
2.
Raiden.
Right. So, like that type of thing where you're going to be playing as Geralt, but you'll also be playing as another character. And he was supposed to say who it was, and I guess he just felt like being cheeky and didn't say who it was, and which I just think is great. I still haven't looked up to this point which character it is. I kind of think it'd be cool to play the game and be like, "Oh shit, what? Wait, what?" But if you watch that trailer, there are a lot of characters in it, and one of those characters is an all new like playable character in the Witcher series, which is I think it's pretty cool. Like so far, I've been excited for The Witcher because that series is so hardcore and true to itself, and CD Projekt Red like just is not out there to please anybody but their fans and do whatever the fuck they have to do to make a great game. And they are like they get a lot. In my opinion, they should have like all of the respect that a Valve or a Blizzard gets and then some, because they just do so much for their own development and for such a small company compared to Valve or just anybody that makes a game that or like fucking Nintendo. Like I mean they make really really solid games, and for them to be doing this thing and having this big new game come out, I think this is going to be their kind of breakout success. I think The Witcher 2 did pretty well on 360 when they what was it was like a special edition. I can't remember the name of the version that they did when they kind of repackaged it, put it on the 360 with that crazy fucking cinematic. But
Yeah. It's
what's the name of that? Assassin of Kings, right?
yes.
So that to me, that was like when people started really getting like aware of them beyond the Steam community or PC community. But
Sure.
this to me, I think is going to be like their big debut for the average gamer, and for them to have something kind of interesting and new to it, and not it just be another Witcher game. I applaud them for that. So next up, really, is this what's next? I thought that was.
That this list is not chronological,
Oh, okay.
so
We
you
can
can
talk about
save that for last if you want to move it.
let's save this for kind of later on. The bigger hitters.
Yeah.
King's Quest. What? I've never played a King's Quest game, Alex. What is this? Why are people so excited about this?
King's Quest is
What is happening?
for anyone who grew up in the age of point and click adventure games when that was like not necessarily the end all be all of gaming, but that was a very big, very major part of games from like I want to say I was born in the late 80s, so it's hard for me to really judge this, but I want to say the late 80s to like the almost
The
all the way through the
early
late
90s.
90s. Well, no, I
Oh
want to say
yeah, well yeah, that's
I
right.
mean, really, like they still came around. They were just kind of phasing out by about the mid to late 90s.
Yeah, they were kind of losing popularity, losing steam by then.
Yeah. Now they had a really cool thing during the Game Awards honoring, which we'll get to in a minute, but honoring Roberta and Ken Williams, who are the creators of the King's Quest series, and they kind of went through during that little segment and talked about how it started and how influential it was and blah blah blah. I mean, King's Quest really brought adventure gaming, and specifically PC adventure gaming, like really just blew it up out of nowhere, and it created that series created Sierra Online, which is a company that went on to influence much of gaming's history, especially on the PC.
Oh hell
Um,
yeah! I don't know how
so
many Sierra games I played as a kid in school. Like for
yeah,
some reason, they were always Sierra
and
games, like teaching me how to fucking use physics and shit.
yeah, all kinds of stuff, and it went everywhere from that to, I mean, fuck, dude, Sierra Online. I want to say executive produced The Hobbit, the original when the Peter Jackson movies came out. Produced that shitty Hobbit game that came out for the Xbox and PS2 and stuff. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
like they've done everything across the whole spectrum. It's an amazing company that I'm just so glad to see kind of experiencing this little resurgence. But for there to be a new King's Quest, it is a really, really big deal for old school gaming fans, especially old school PC gaming fans. It's just I'm super excited for it. And it looks great. I mean, they saw a little bit of gameplay. It looks awesome.
So I skip the next thing. I want to talk about before because
Yes.
just when we talk about before, let's just talk about the whole PlayStation slash the whole new generation of indies thing. There are some games that are shown by indies or that come out from indie games or indie developers that really surprise me, and that there are some games that come out that are like the story behind the development of the game is cool, but the game itself is kind of not that interesting to me.
I
Sure.
think
And
we're
I
gonna have a
don't know
different
if
opinion on this game for sure.
I'm really curious. Yeah. Well, see, all right, hold on. Rory, did you watch the Wild thing? I don't remember if when we did the Gamescom stuff
Yeah,
if you were
I saw the
with
Wild
Wild.
trailer. I should have watched it before the show just to remind myself of it. I thought it looked cool. Um, but yeah, I don't
I think
remember specifically like what I was really enjoying about it other than the visual design, and
yeah,
the mixture of like fantasy and these like old school, hunter type guys. So
right. I think what's interesting about Before is the guy's story, and that's why he's there on stage talking about a year ago I was sitting in my house like trying to put together a video game, and here I am now. I'm on stage at Sony's press conference. Like this is a dream come true. So I think I think that is just a never-ending fountain of goodwill when it comes to presenting indie games and indie developers to the world for both platforms, for Sony and Microsoft, and even that's why Steam is so fucking cool and popular these days. Is you get people that can just do what they got to do to make a game because they have passion and they have creativity. And now with the way the fucking world is today, like you just can play that game. Like this guy in the middle of nowhere in some other country I've never been to made this game, and in a week he can just upload it and put it out on the internet, and I have it and now I can play it. Like I think that's beautiful and amazing, but I think at some point you kind of, I don't know. I'm afraid that like we're gonna start just seeing it happen just for goodwill, and the games might not be there yet, or it might be someone who should probably cut their teeth on a few more games before they get to this game. I don't know. What's your take on it though? You did seem a little interested in it, and for me personally, I was like interested, and then they'd show like some character models or something, and I would instantly just be like totally turned off by the game. I don't know. I was really up and down on it.
You were instantly turned off once you saw the character models and stuff?
Yeah, there was something about like the game seemed like a cool idea, and then when I saw animation and stuff, I was just like, I don't know. It rubbed me the wrong way. I wasn't
Yeah.
really feeling.
For me, I really love the aesthetic of the game and the tone of it. We don't know what, Again, we were talking about. I can't remember what the game was earlier now. Like No Man's Sky. Like we don't really know what the moment-to-moment gameplay is gonna be like, and what's the deal with the whole fucking world. But I, I'm just looking at it going, the tone of it's great. The visuals are totally right up my alley. Like it kind of reminded me of Wind Waker in a sense. Like the only thing I wasn't super fond of was the facial
Okay.
things, like with just the black eyes, and I can't remember how the mouth
Yeah,
was done. If there was like some more of a cartoony look to the eyes or something, I'd probably prefer that. But
and
overall,
maybe
I
that was
really
it. Like
what's that?
that sounds familiar. Like and maybe that was it. Maybe it was just the faces.
The
There's
faces
something
were a
about the
little bit
character model.
weird and lifeless in a
Yeah.
sense, but otherwise, I really liked it. And I saw some
How do
people
you hope
chatting.
it plays?
What's that?
How do you hope it plays? Like, what are you hoping that it is? It is when
I'm
you play.
honestly hoping it's a bit of a survival game in a sense, like a caveman simulator thing. Like I want this like massive world, and I want to just sort of survive in the same way that you do with Minecraft. Like I want to just sort of be out there, find a cave, have to keep myself alive, hunt, go out on the plains.
Have you
I want it to be
have
like
you
peaceful,
played
just go out and
or
do a thing.
have you played or ever checked out Rust?
I've checked out Rust on Twitch. Yeah, it hasn't really. There's something I don't know. It just that doesn't really appeal to me for some reason. I think
So
it's
maybe like the same concept, but just in a little more of an inoffensive package like this game,
yeah,
like
like I
before.
really fucking enjoyed the art style of it. Again, other than the faces, like I like the awkward geometry. I like the simplicity of the textures. I like the animations. And games like that, honestly, to me, age fucking like wonderfully as long as the gameplay is good. That's why Wind Waker is still fucking drop dead gorgeous. That's why
Yeah.
16-bit sprite games, for the most part, look just as good today as they did all those years ago. Whereas um, games that really push realism and such, and the 3D polygonal stuff where they're going for details, I find don't age nearly as well because the techniques and the intricacies of like the artwork and stuff is just expanding and getting better and better and better. But when you have something artistic and simple like before, like that will age fucking wonderfully from a visual perspective. Again, like Wind Waker did. That game is still absolutely fucking jaw dropping right now, and that's
Cool.
getting on in years, man. And it's due to the simplicity of the artwork.
So the next game on our list definitely has Alex's space boner like just massively erect.
Hell yeah.
What do you think this game is? Like? All right, so from the teaser that we saw and the gameplay that we saw, what do you imagine this game is? Do you think it's uh, Gravity the game or what?
I got the feeling watching it. I actually went back. This morning, earlier this morning, I went back and watched the footage they showed at the TGAs again,
For a trip?
because I was pretty excited about it. And I feel like the footage that was shown looks like something that might be shown as an intro to a chapter or maybe even an intro to a game, but not necessarily. And it could have been all in-game graphics, but not necessarily something that is like real-time happening gameplay. It could
I
have
felt like it
been.
was. I felt like it was her trying to get to that oxygen.
Yeah, and it could have been. It could have been. Sure, like that's fine either way. But the thing is like from what we saw, I don't want to form an opinion. I just want to look at it and say,
Okay.
hey, this is really cool. There's obviously some sort of surviving in a pseudo realistic fashion in space situation going on. There, gravity, or rather lack of, looks great. The game itself, like the overall graphical quality of the game, was pretty high. and the movement and the physics and everything. Like it all worked
The
really well.
tension, the atmosphere, yeah.
Yeah, it seemed really serious. It really reminded me of that last, which is a totally different type of game, but really it was so tense watching it. It reminded me of that last little bit of Metal Gear Solid 4. I don't want to spoil it, but for anyone who's played, they know what I'm talking about. It was kind of like you have to get to to that objective there, you know.
Okay.
And it was really really cool. I'm super excited for it. Anyone who knows me knows that I'm really into space and science, but that is like. Oh, that was just right up my alley. When that came on, I was literally cheering at my couch. I mean, Drew, you were with me, you know. So
Sure.
Here,
Yeah, you were.
Alex,
So.
answer something for me then, because like when I was watching it, I wasn't sure if it was just like my eyes or the stream, or if it was due to the fact that like it seemed like maybe he was like losing oxygen or something as he was going through. But like the background, like his hands and stuff are always like really sharp and stuff. But I noticed more and more as I was watching it that like the stuff in the background, just a little bit out of like focus, was just getting like crappier and crappy. Like it just didn't look great. It looked kind of like there was like a double image almost. Was that
You
something
didn't
that
feel
was
like it was a depth of field thing, or I know what you're
No,
talking about.
it just
Yeah,
felt
it
like
had like it. It almost felt like it was trying to go
it,
3D.
it's
yeah,
a depth of field thing.
exactly.
I
That was
kind of
weird.
feel. Well, here's the thing. There, like this has very hardcore Oculus Rift support. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Is like this is meant to be almost like kind of a VR sort of situation. I
Yet
feel like
it's
that's
on
a
the
very heavy
Xbox One
focus for the
and
game.
PlayStation 4 without it, so
Yeah, see, that's the thing. So it's going to be kind of like, is this going to be one of those where it's like
It
it
has
performs?
support, but it's not.
This is
It's
made.
not
This is
designed.
made for the PC, but and for Oculus Rift, but we're going to put it on these, or will it be the inverse? Hard to
Mm,
say. But I will
good
say
point.
that it was kind of cool seeing that weird like depth of field change where everything's kind of blurry. It was a little jarring the first time I watched it, but if
Yeah,
I went back and watched it again and thought it looked fine.
it's. I mean,
Um,
I think it has potential, and like I said, I mentioned it before. Adrift and Tacoma and No Man's Sky, and I'm sure there will be more before the end of the year, before the end of next year. Like space is a thing. Like it is happening. Like
yeah.
I just it's this crazy new trend all of a sudden, and it looks like a good one.
I mean, well, I could tell you as far as Adrift goes, just my kind of closing thoughts on it. Like, I mean, it's a game that's meant to be, you're an astronaut. You have, your memory's been, which I hate that old cliche, but like you have no memory. You've got a damaged
Yeah,
spacesuit, and you've got to survive it. But the cool thing is like you're in a ruined space station situation. That's pretty unique. It's not necessarily like, oh, you wake up in a, and the big bad guy's trying to take over the world, or you suddenly come to and have no memories, and zombies and post-apocalyptic is happening. Like, this is a kind of a unique thing to explore, and I'd really like, as someone who is again into space exploration and stuff, I'd really like to check that out. I think that even if the game, okay, let me see if I can put this correctly in a way that makes sense externally. I
explain it to
think
my
that
dumb human brain.
no. Explaining it from my alcohol infused brain out of my functional mouth to other people.
Good
I
luck.
think that the mechanics will drive that game, and will drive certain little bits and pieces will probably be picked out in the future and will influence games that come out in the future. I think that it may not be the best AAA title that ever existed, but it's going to be a lot of fun, and I think it's going to inform a lot of games in the future.
So, the next title I think is kind of a throwaway, but I think it's interesting to reference because people had different concepts about this game before it happened. Uh, Human Element, I guess for some reason I don't remember hearing about it much before this trailer, but I know that people were expecting it to be, I guess, like a more serious, gritty, post-apocalyptic survival type thing. And then we get this like downright Looney Tunes, like practically looks like a fucking joke trailer made from this cartoony, all completely CG animated, no gameplay. Do not think that's gameplay. There's no fucking way that's gameplay. It's just this like crazy music blaring. The guy's on a motorcycle. He's out in the desert. He runs and jumps off the motorcycle, starts shooting people, and then it just gets really weird. And I think it's so funny. Like people went from like, oh man, Human Element's gonna be sick to like, the Human Element looks really dumb. What the fuck was that? Like, what just
Why did
happened?
you do this?
Why is this? So I thought that was funny. We'll see how that goes. It looks. I don't think that's gonna survive. It didn't look that interesting.
Yeah.
But why don't we wrap up the actual trailers, announcements, and show stuff before we talk about the awards? and then we're going to take a quick break before we talk about the PSX.
Sure.
So the show ended with probably the most impressive, coolest thing I saw the whole night, and that was Imagine Dragons playing Zelda music with the guy. Wait, no, is that not it? That wasn't
No,
it.
Drew,
That,
that's
what happened? What
come on,
happened at
Get
bro.
it
the end?
together, man.
Just trolling Alex. So we saw motherfucking Zelda for the Wii U played.
Get
Motherfuckers
hype,
played that
son.
shit. We saw that shit, and they played it. Um,
Eh.
my initial takeaway for this is Nintendo. What the fuck are you doing? Don't show us two guys sitting next to a TV for like 10 minutes. Show us actual gameplay. You can maybe cut away every now and then and be like, "Hey, look, he's actually playing the thing, and here's them talking, and you're listening to the translators, and this isn't awkward whatsoever." But then zoom the fuck in on the thing. I want to see it. You're talking about how beautiful this scene is, and I'm looking at it from like 5 feet across a room on a like flat screen TV that's canted a little bit to the side. Like, what the fuck, man? I wanted to see that shit. I wanted to
Yeah.
stare at every pixel of the beautiful sunset in Hyrule. And this is from a guy who doesn't even play Zelda. Like,
Yeah.
I thought that looked amazing. I was like, this is the game. I'm going to play this. This is going to be the Zelda game that like really hits me where I live. And the presentation of it was very frustrating because it looked so cool. So, Rory, what's your take on the gameplay that we saw?
Well, honestly, I was really underwhelmed with what they showed. Like when they showed that first
The
trailer.
actual game itself?
Yeah, just seeing like what they showed us, I was like, that's what you're showing us right now. Because like when they had the trailer at E3,
The horse did run into those trees, man.
it
No horses ran into trees.
that trailer at E3 like showed gave us the hint of this large open lush world which was beautiful, and then we saw
Filled
Link
with
riding
enemies,
around, we saw him
danger.
fighting some enemies, we saw some color, we saw
Yes.
some variation in environments, and when they announced they're showing Wii U here, I was like, okay, I'm getting excited, I'm shaking, let's see it. And it was, yeah, like you said, like this like poorly translated, it wasn't like poor translation, but it was just them trying to mimic the jokes and the humor of the Japanese in English. It was just like not good. And all it was Link riding around a completely fucking barren landscape, really. Like there was moments when I saw some lush grass, and there was other moments where I was like, oh, I can see this flat kind of almost reminding me of N64 stretched out textures. I mean, it looks good overall, and I'm sure the game is going to be fucking great. But what they showed me, I was just like, what the fuck are you showing me that I don't have control of the horse, and it's automated, or I do control it if I want, and I can shoot arrows, or is it like completely automated if I set a marker? Like, what the fuck is going on with it? And yeah, just there was no enemies, there wasn't anything interesting for me to latch onto other than seeing, okay, it's a big open world.
They were
But
just worried about all those Zelda spoilers, bro.
ah, man, I don't know. I love the Zelda series, and I'm gonna be all over that game. What they showed at
I
E3 had
know.
me excited, but what they showed
Yeah.
at this event, I was underwhelmed with for sure.
Alex, what's your take on this game so far?
Okay, so but just a kind of full disclosure spoiler for you guys. I wanted to name my firstborn Link. All right, that was vetoed by the wife. It is what it is. All right, so I'm a pretty big Zelda fan. When it came on,
All right. So hold on, I gotta interject. You got a pretty good fucking second choice though. You named your son after a rock star. Okay, so
yeah,
I
after
don't
my
want to
favorite
hear
rock star, so that was pretty cool. Well, the
Yeah.
cool thing is she already had 2 kids, so it was kind of like she just kind of told me you can name him whatever you want to, just whatever.
You
I'm
get
gonna
this
name
one.
Bottom.
Yep. So, no, but the thing is, Drew, I think you pretty much hit the nail on the head there. Like, it looked really great, but the execution and the reveal was horrible.
God
It's like having a
damn.
Picasso painting, that you just happen to
And I
acquire.
show it to you on my like smartphone. Hey, look at this picture of this.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Picasso
Like you
painting.
somehow you go into your attic and your grandpa left you a Picasso painting that you didn't know about, and you call all your friends over for a fancy dinner party and you want to show it to them, but instead of showing them the actual painting, you show them a picture on your iPhone 3G. Like it was
So
bullshit.
right.
It was
Oh,
bullshit.
that's so right. That's like playing every game on the Wii U. Oh, I'm
yeah.
just kidding.
So, like Roy said, like I'm super excited for it. I'm gonna play the shit out of it when it comes out. I have the Legend of Zelda Wii U sitting in front of me. I'm going to play the shit out of that game.
Yeah.
But they just really could have shown me that game in literally any other capacity, and it would have been better. So
would have been better.
yeah, but you know, for what it's worth, what I saw at E3 absolutely blew my mind. I was blown away by that.
I thought it was
Um,
great. I thought it looked fantastic.
yeah,
Um,
and what I saw last night, given the kind of downfall of how it was executed, personally, I think looked great.
sure.
And seeing it in
I
full
agree
motion,
with
much
both
like
of you.
Mario Kart, that came out earlier this year, like much like the Mario Kart, seeing it in motion, first person in your house on your TV was so different from anything else that I'd seen. Mostly because it was operating at 60 frames a second. But
Right. Yeah.
you know, I just it's going to be cool. I think it's going to look fine, and I'm absolutely positive it's going to play great. So
I have a
my
feeling
hype levels are at like maximum for it.
it'll probably be game of the year next year, if not one of, just because.
I'd say
Just
that.
because
Yeah.
it looks like, at least from the impression that I got from the guy standing on the mountain and looking and then zooming out and being like, "This is how goddamn big our map is!" Like,
Yeah.
holy shit, that
How'd
thing
you
is
eat
huge.
this shit?
Yeah, I think it's going to be as close to Zelda in Skyrim, which people have been asking for years now. I think they heard that, and that is what they're going to try to deliver, but in classic Nintendo fashion. So there's going to be some quirks about it that are you're just like, why the fuck can't we do X, Y, and Z?
You can only play it on Tuesdays, and every guard in the game is going to be like a walking dog policeman.
But it'll still be amazing, and everybody's still going to love it, and I'm sure it'll be fantastic. But let's move on. There
Can
were
I
some
just say, I
awards.
just want to say on the note of saying that, Zelda's potentially game of the year next year. It's weird to me that we're not even into 2015 yet, and we can basically already safely assume what the top 5, 6 games of the year are going to be as far as game of the
Oh,
year
absolutely.
nominations. Like, it's nuts.
Yeah.
There's
Well, so
already
we
so
say
many
that.
games where it's like, oh, here we go. This is going to be the 5 that are nominated.
We say that. However, I'm holding out hope that, as I've been saying for months now, E3 2015 is going to be the E3 that blows everyone's fucking minds and sets the pace for the generation. If not, we're in trouble. And so I'm hoping that we get surprised next year and we have some games that are coming out that like make Halo and Zelda and Uncharted run for cover because they just blow our minds. Like that should be happening. I'm not saying it's going to, but that is what is supposed to happen if you look at the last generation and the previous generations, especially with E3 involved. That's kind of how it should work out. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see. Let's move on and talk about these awards, and then we're going to take a break.
We could probably burn through these because there's not really a whole
We're
lot
not
to
going to
say about
start with
most of
the
them.
first one, though. That's the last one that we talk about. You did the stuff
Sure.
that
I'm dumb.
Best indie game, Shovel Knight. I would agree. I actually wanted it to be the best indie game. I have never played Shovel Knight, but everything I know about it looks fucking awesome, and
So good.
I think it's a really fucking cool game. So I would totally agree with that. Best action game, Shadow of Mordor. I think Shadow of Mordor could have cleaned up a little more, and I'm just glad that it won something because even though it's not the best game in the whole wide world, this year wasn't really the best year for video games. So I think that compared to its counterparts, it was pretty good.
I was hoping
Definitely,
Sunset was going to take that one personally. I really loved Mordor, but Sunset equal level as far as like games. I actually think Sunset Overdrive is a little bit better of a game overall, but
okay,
Sunset
yeah.
Overdrive was sort of like really wholly unique as well from a gameplay perspective. I know it borrowed from many different games in the past, but it put them all together to create something totally new. Whereas Mordor was like, well, it's Assassin's Creed and Batman set in Middle Earth, and I personally would have given that one to Sunset.
I will say about Shadow of Mordor that it executed on the Assassin's Creed thing better than Assassin's Creed did this year, which is kind of
I think we can all agree
interesting.
with that.
And I did keep saying to Alex, because Alex has never played the Arkham series, now that you've played Shadow of Mordor, you probably won't enjoy the combat of the Arkham series as much because Shadow of Mordor's combat is a little more in depth and a little more fun. Like because you're a wraith and you have these crazy powers, you can do shit that like Batman would never be able to do, and that just makes it more fun.
Well, I don't know. That more fun is arguable in the sense of like if you're a huge Batman fan like me, like getting a chance to play a Batman game like the Arkham games is fucking brilliant. Like you don't have
But
the
no, I'm
magic
just talking
stuff,
about the
but
combat itself. Just
I
the
know,
combat.
but it's
I was
like,
going, yeah.
oh man, that Batman combat is still very fucking good, man.
So, best game for change and best narrative were Valiant Hearts. I totally forgot about Valiant Hearts, and it was really cool seeing those guys win that award because you can see it on their faces. I mean, we'll talk about the presentation of the show. Actually, we'll talk about the presentation of both shows and compare them later. Um, but these guys like had no idea that they had won, and they were just standing there. And he's like, "You won this, and then you won this," and you could see them like congratulating each other, like, "Oh shit, we won!" Like it was really
What?
cool. It was seeing, it was cool seeing these guys who are very passionate and clearly because they make this super passionate game, just really, enjoy the fact that they won.
Can you guys
There were a lot of
clarify what that category was actually meaning?
game
Games
games
for
for
change. What they
change.
were? What? Yeah. What was that all about exactly?
Well, games for change, I think, was just games that so these all of this stuff was voted on by panelists including Jeff Gerstmann and other industry like veterans and just people that have been around for a minute. Games for Change, I feel like, was something like if you ran this competition the year Gone Home came out, it probably would have won. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Like stuff that was sensitive to political or sociological like topics that that just kind of push boundaries and do things differently. And I felt like Valiant Hearts was a good example of that. I don't know why. I don't fuck if I know. But best shooter was Far Cry 4. Cool. That just makes me want to fucking play that game that much more. Like, god damn it, I want to play that game. I would agree. I also think that Wolfenstein probably could have won that, except Wolfenstein's shooting has never really, like, granted, I'm stupid, so I
Titanfall is
haven't
up for
played
that award,
either of
right?
those games. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
see,
could say
man, ooh,
Titanfall.
that's a tough one for me, man. Far Cry is awesome, but if like we're talking about like what's the best shooter, like as far as
That's
just
a good
like moment to
point.
moment gameplay and the shooting goes, Titanfall fucking trumps
I think
everything.
I think the thing holding Titanfall back, like the momentum and the gameplay of Titanfall, is completely solid. I think the only thing holding it back is the roster of weapons. Feels like it's like a best of and not like a full fledged roster. I feel like they could have added more interesting weapons into that game to kind of push it over the edge. So, anyways, I agree. I think both of those games are definitely competitors. Best remaster, GTA 5. I would agree with Brad Shoemaker from the Giant Bomb in saying that this pretty much isn't even a remaster. Like GTA 5 was this good, and they just finally put it on consoles and platforms that like it completely gets to spread its wings and be as good as it was supposed to be.
Yeah,
But
but
they
it
squeezed
totally
it on the
deserves the
previous gen
award because
console.
the amount of work that was put into that was the amount of like more work than any other remaster out there at the
The
moment.
first person thing
Yeah,
alone, like adding
they
first person, that's fucking crazy.
yeah, they deserve that award hands down, no question about
I
it.
agree. I agree. They deserve lots and lots of awards. Um, this is weird. Best sports or racing game. I feel like you could have just said sports game. Racing is a sport. I don't. That was weird. What do you say? Why do you say "or" in your category?
Well, because
Anyways,
because I don't know, I don't consider Mario Kart a sports game. Like, if it was a NASCAR
yeah,
racing
but I
game
mean,
or
if
an Indy racing game,
it
then
depends
fuck yeah. But
on
that's why I have a problem
depends
with.
on what you call. It depends on what you call sports, though. Like if you say racing in general is a sport, then all racing games are a sport game. Like
Technically, it's just a personal thing. Like, I wouldn't put I could include NASCAR 2014 in my sports games, I guess, but I just wouldn't include Mario Kart in there. I don't know why, but that's just the way my brains work. And it's like, no, I wouldn't classify that as a sports game. It's a kart racer. It's a
well,
cartoon.
is UFC a fighting game or a sports game?
That would be a sports game and fighting game. I just,
All right. So, anyways, Mario Kart 8 won Best Racing Game because duh. Nate Shot won Best Esports Player. I would agree with
Whoop.
that. That guy's really blowing it up. If you care about that stuff.
Yeah, man.
Developer of the Year, Nintendo, because duh. They made fucking. What all came out this year? We had Mario Kart 8, Smash Brothers.
Captain
Did
Toad.
all right, Captain Toad. Wait,
Yeah.
what came out at the beginning of the year? Didn't more shit come out at the beginning of the year though?
I mean, Hyrule
Did Kirby
Heroes.
come out this year? Hyrule Warriors came out this year. Did Kirby come out on 3DS? Or no, not Kirby. Yoshi.
No, I don't
Didn't
think
Yoshi
Yoshi's
have
Yes.
a
out.
3DS game this year?
It's not out yet?
That's not out yet.
Which one? The
Uh,
Yarn Yoshi or whatever?
yeah.
I don't think so. I would have been playing that one.
For some reason I thought it already came out. Anyways, yeah, Nintendo's killing it
Yoshi's New
because
Island came out.
they make great games, but
You're
they
right.
make
Yoshi's New Island on 3DS did come out. I forgot about that one. Yeah.
well, there you go. Anyways, industry icon, which is a really cool category, was what Alex was talking about earlier. Roberta and Ken Williams basically started Sierra Games and started. They made what did they say? They made the first video game with they made an adventure game that actually
First
had
graphical. Yeah, it's the
graphics.
first
Yeah, it
graphical adventure game.
had graphics. Yeah, because before that, every adventure game was text based.
Yeah.
Shout outs to anybody who's ever played a text based video game. They're pretty fucking.
What? I still play them. Not even a joke.
Frog Fractions is the closest I've gotten to doing that.
Oh man.
Dude, it's so cool. Anyways, best fighting game, Smash Brothers, because duh.
Yep.
Seriously, what the fuck else would compete with that? Best mobile game. I thought this was a pretty good showdown because it was Smash Brothers on the 3DS versus Hearthstone, which is just huge. Hearthstone is
Stomping. Yeah.
massive. And Hearthstone won, which I thought was pretty cool.
I thought that might go to that three. What was that 3DS RPG
Threes.
that was huge? No, not
Oh.
threes.
Banner Saga.
No, not Banner
No.
Saga. There's that 3DS RPG that came out that was fucking huge, man. It was nominated.
Fire Emblem.
What? Yeah, Fire Emblem Awakening. I thought that was going to be the one that ended up taking that. I haven't played it, but I remember hearing so many people, including some of the IGN guys like Altano and stuff, just saying like this is probably going to be one of the best games.
Fire Emblem was 2013. That's probably why.
Well, no. What
but
about
it was nominated this year. Something was nominated.
Hearthstone kind of has a leg up because not only is it a great mobile game, but it's also a good PC game and stuff as well. So people might have been kind of taking into account the fact that they've played it all over the place. But Hearthstone is just, I mean, that game is a beast. Composition award. So I feel like they could have came up with a better name for this, but Marty O'Donnell won for his work on Destiny, which is really fucking
Marty.
cool. Yeah, cheers to him. He also, a little weird inside baseball thing. He also composed the theme to the Game Awards, so that's a little odd that he won an award at the awards show that he composed the theme to. I don't know. Trendy Gamer, Total Biscuit, hell yeah. Total Biscuit has had a really fucking rough year. So I think we were all really happy for him just to kind of get recognition on a scale that might be a little bigger than the scale that he already gets recognition on, which is pretty cool. Best score and best
sorry guys,
online.
I just want to say one thing. It was Bravely Default was the game I was trying to remember.
Oh
That was the game. Okay. I heard a lot of people really raving about that as it being Game of the Year material.
And now you have Freedom Wars on the Vita, so there's some good fucking RPGs out there and strategy games on those handheld consoles. So yeah, so best score and best online experience go to Destiny. I would agree with the online experience because compared to a lot of the other games and experiences online lately, Destiny, say what you will about how the game came out with whatever the fuck expectations you had. I've had the best online experience this year in Destiny, hands down, without even blinking an eye. It's been better than Diablo. It's been better than The Elder Scrolls Online. It's been better than all that shit because it just works. I don't know. I mean, your preferences aside, the experience of playing Destiny Online with friends has been really cool. So I would totally agree with that. Best performance, Trey motherfucking Parker. For Stick of Truth. That was so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, his speech was amazing.
His speech is fantastic. Saying something like, "This is the only way Trey Parker would beat Kevin Spacey in acting," is and just using that as an advocacy for video games. Fuck yeah, dude.
He deserved that one. And honestly, I think South Park deserved to be nominated for Game of the Year. It's going to be one of my nominations.
I think it will be. I think it'll be nominated in a ton of other avenues. So, don't feel discouraged because I think the Game of the Year list was interesting in this award show because it wasn't full of. I said this before. It wasn't full of obvious choices, and I think Game of the Year.
Yeah, but what are the obvious choices though? The games that are obviously the best and should be on there. Is that what you're saying? That's where it's sort of weird. I like interesting choices and things being surprises, but if there's genuinely some better games, I'm kind of I thought the lists of their awards this year.
I think obvious choices would just be the highest profile games and not necessarily the best games. Does that make sense?
Yes, but some of those highly profiled games are also some of the most highly rated of the year. That's where it's sort of
Well,
like
yeah,
some
like
aren't,
fucking
but man, South Park should have been
Bayonetta
on there.
2 or Mario Kart or whatever. Like, if some of the highest rated games of the year they're huge, they're super popular, but I don't like you could. I guess what I'm saying is you could completely saturate a list with those games and still have a bunch of games that deserve to kind of get that opportunity.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I just like the fact that this list was like, hey, there's a bunch of games that obviously like fucking, of course, people are gonna think Destiny or Call of Duty or
I don't think many people are
Bayonetta.
thinking Destiny is Game of the Year material.
I don't know.
It's on my
I'm
list.
just
I think
joking.
I
I'm just
think
joking.
I think a lot of our community might argue with you
No,
and shoot
there's a
you,
lot of people
stab
that are
you,
enjoying it. I
and
realistically don't
and
see it taking
cut your head
like.
off. But
Oh no,
it's
that's
like,
okay, man. It's a great game. I'm just being
no, I'm
realistic.
just
Like
kidding.
the big
I was just
publications,
fucking.
like I don't see it taking anybody's Game of the Year. Maybe a few people's,
Probably
but
not. Yeah, probably not. So, anyways, Dragon Age Inquisition won fucking Game of the Year. So the first thing I said when this happened was, well, shit. Now I have to play this game. Like, I've heard
Hmm.
nothing but good things about this game, and I really have to play it. But what was your take on this, Alex? How was your reaction to Game of the Year?
I God, what was I last night? You were with me, Drew. What was I saying was probably going to win? What was my bet out of that list?
Oh, fuck. Shadow
Was it Shadow
or
or I know I had two. I said
what
Shadow
else?
or this one. It doesn't matter. Regardless, I think that Dragon Age deserves it. I mean, I'd say, holy shit! I'm sure I haven't had a chance to play it yet. I'm in the same boat as you, Drew. I'm like just chomping at the bit. I need to play that game.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, it looks great. Kudos to those guys. I mean, I would say that they definitely deserved it. I think it's kind of a nice bounce back from what Dragon Age 2 was. Um, and I think that was something that was much needed for a very promising series.
yeah.
So I think the Dragon Age series and the Dragon Age mythos is something that could be really really cool, and I'd love to see it continue. But God, after 2 came out, I was like, what in the hell are you guys gonna do next? Like, I don't know
Yeah,
if I
yeah.
can be on board with this. So yeah, good stuff,
All
man.
right.
I'm excited.
So that was the awards, and that was the TGAs, and we're going to take a 5 minute break and come back and talk about the PlayStation experience, and then wrap the show. So thanks for sticking around with us live on Twitch, and if you're listening to this pre-recorded, we will be right back.
And for those who are hanging out live with us right now, I'm gonna play the 4.5 minute No Man's Sky trailer that was at the conferences. So that'll fill the gap. And if you haven't seen it, it is wonderful. So I'll play that for you guys right now. Of course, it's not showing up. Hang on, guys. Let me fix this for you. Let's add this in. This happens sometimes when I'm switching between scenes. Let's re-add this window in here. There it is. Hello, No Man's Sky YouTube video. Pop that open and over. There we go. So sit back, enjoy this trailer. It's fucking rad.
guys about ready?
Sure.
Rory, you back?
Yeah, I've been here the whole time, man.
I was here the whole time.
I never leave you, baby.
All right. Welcome back, guys. Thanks for sticking around after the break. We're going to dive into the PlayStation Experience. A PlayStation Experience. We're really only going to be talking about the keynote, which was on Saturday. PlayStation Experience has been all weekend uh, out there in Vegas, conveniently right next to the Game Awards. So all of the people that were out there for the Game Awards stuck around and went to the PlayStation Experience keynote, and then stuck around, played a whole lot of video games. There is tons of coverage all over YouTube. Go check it out. Lots of impressions, hands-on gameplay, stuff that we would normally expect from like a trade show like PAX or Gamescom or E3, but Sony decided that they're such ballers that they would just do it themselves, which good for them. I think that's cool. We haven't seen something like this in a while. Xbox did it back in 06 at what was called X06, which turned into the like first year of a 360 kind of sneak peek type thing. Overall, I think we said we were going to talk about the presentation of both shows, right? The Game Awards had a much more humble vibe to it, while still kind of pulling off a still a rather professional feeling of like presentation. At least it was shooting for. It was shooting for a professional presentation. At many points, it felt like a High School Musical.
Yeah, it felt
But
like they just bit off a little bit more than they were like prepared for, you know.
yes, I think Rory, we were back and forth. You and I were back and forth throughout pretty much the whole show, wondering like. I think you were a little bummed at the level of presentation, whereas I was kind of impressed. But I think it's mostly because we both saw the flaws, but I was looking at this from a perspective of this thing had it. I think this was probably put together in like 9 months tops.
Yeah, that's
Because
where I differ though. It's like you said that. It was like, well, 9 months, sure, it doesn't seem like a ton of time, but it's enough time, especially since you've been doing rehearsals for 2 days, that when you queue up and you're coming to an interview, that the lights are fucking on you and ready to go. Right? Like I remember a
well,
moment where they
and
couldn't
then
even
from the
cut to Jeff for a second, and you could hear the audio for everybody to hear live saying, "Are we gonna get some lights? Lights? Okay." And then they lit them, and that whole thing with like Reggie near the end too, where like the music clearly had stopped, and then Reggie's standing there for like what felt like
he was making a
five
face.
seconds or something,
Yeah,
just like, and he's looking at the camera guy or probably a producer, like, "Is it my turn to go?" There was just all
yeah.
these, and that happened throughout the show, especially in the first half, where it was like, guys, like I'm fine with little things. Like I wasn't bummed about it, but I was a little bit just like, really? What the fuck? You guys have been talking about for 2 days that like you're prepping, you got rehearsals going, you did rehearsals right before the show. Were half the team not there for rehearsals? I just expected a little bit tighter, not this amazing blown out experience. I thought they did a really good job, but there was just the little details where I was like, "Fuck, guys, come on!" And the way they handed out awards, we'll touch on that. I'll let you talk, but that pissed me off too.
I I agree that the way that they presented awards was just fucking jarring. You, you cut back to Jeff, and Jeff is not even on stage. He's standing next to a TV that's showing us like gameplay of a random game.
Yeah,
He was like, and if you look over here, apparently we have Dying Light being played for some reason. He's just like, what the fuck is going
the
on?
moment when he
Uh,
handed the award to best esports player too, it was just like, "Oh, here
he was
you
like,
won."
hey, why don't you just get him up here, man?
He's and he,
Why don't you walk up here and
and he,
talk to me?
his words were, "Oh, and hey, you won this," and then he has to reach across on like the winner to grab the statue, which is kind of out of reach, to hand it to him. And they
Yeah.
did that throughout, even with some big name developers, just like, "Oh, here, you won this, and you also
You
won
won
this."
Developer of the Year, Reggie. Just letting you know. Here you go.
It was just like, what? You didn't
Oh no, he
mention the
didn't even get his award.
nominees,
That
and
was so funny. They were talking. He was talking to Reggie, and he was like, "Oh, by the way, you won Developer of the Year." And then they like continued talking, and Reggie gave like his acceptance speech on the spot because he's a professional. and then at the end of it, he like fucked with Jeff. He was like, "I'm just waiting for my award." He was like, "Where's my award at?" Yeah, that whole presentation thing was a mess. But I got to give it to Jeff.
Of course.
Honestly, I mean, I don't know if this sounds narcissistic or not, but he's a bit of an inspiration and somebody that I kind of aspire to uh, kind of follow up in my time as far as whatever I can do to help further video games as an industry and as a culture, I'm going to do. And I feel like even though this presentation and this situation and the VGAs in general have always been a bit of a joke, they are also I think the core root of the reason that they exist is a wholehearted, like passionate attempt at saying, look, this shit is for real. Like
Yeah.
this is important. It's serious. People take it for granted, but it is a hard, tough industry, and it is an industry full of passionate, like just people live and breathe video games. Why don't we recognize that?
Well, yeah, the
And that's
quality is there now. It's time for these guys to be recognized properly. So.
exactly. And so, yeah, Bill in the chat is actually talking about the DJ, and I saw so many things about that DJ. That was fucking hilarious.
I like the idea of what he was doing, but every time they cut to him, I was just like, I can't, it's hard for me to take it seriously watching it. I love chiptune stuff, but I was like, he's just dancing with his Game Boy, and I'm like, what is happening?
Alex was talking about the laser heart thing, that the presentation. Look, the guy, when Marty got presented the composition award or whatever, and then like Jeff like awkwardly was like, "Yo, I have this friend, and I talked to him, and he really wants a job. So everybody watch this." It was so ridiculous. That whole thing was so funny.
Odd moments, man.
But I again, I gotta say, I thought it was great. On the flip side, talking about the PlayStation experience, that was like a full blown fucking E3 press conference. Like it like at no point did it feel like, oh, this is kind of a shoddy little interesting thing that they put together. Like that felt like it should have been on stage at E3. Period. Like it felt super professional. I was actually kind of impressed at how legit that whole thing was.
I missed that keynote. That pissed me off. I'm gonna have to watch it. I've heard good things.
It's the whole thing's on Sony's YouTube or PlayStation YouTube channel. They have it all in one go. You can check it out. To flip back and forth again real quick, PlayStation experience about 2 hours. The TGAs were 3 hours. Like, whoa, what the fuck? I don't think anybody walked into that expecting it. I know we didn't expect it to be 3 hours. When Alex and I sat down to kind of host the chat over on Rated M for Podcast Twitch channel, about halfway through, I think it was about halfway through when they said that was the first half.
Yeah, it was Elijah Wood in Broken Age came up, right? It was that Broken Age.
Yeah,
thing.
like,
I hope you enjoyed the first half of
exactly.
the show, and we were all like, wait, what?
My stomach kind of sank, and I was like, bro, I didn't want to spend my whole night doing this.
If you're gonna do a 3-hour show, the Academy Awards has shown that you can do a big bloated 3-hour show and still give the fucking like nominees time on the stage. Like you can read out the nominees, show a video clip, and then fucking announce the winner and have the winner come up and accept the award and tell the audience thank you so fucking much. And none of that seemed to happen on this show. I was like, why is this 3 fucking hours? What are we doing here?
I expect the next one will be tightened up quite a bit. I think this was very akin to like a rough demo. You know, even though the VGAs have existed in the past, I'm sure that the VGAs had like legit Hollywood producers fucking pulling all the levers and the cranks and like saying, nope, we got to go here. And, you know, and I think Jeff kind of hobbled this together out of his Rolodex. You know what I mean? He probably looked in his contacts and his phone was like, who the fuck do I need to call to try to make this thing actually happen?
Yeah.
And it's just impressive that he actually made it happen.
No, he
and
did.
Not only that,
he
like,
pulled it off.
Holy shit. Tim Schafer, fucking Reggie Fils-Aimé basically co-hosted the thing. Like, he had a legit show. I mean, it wasn't just like, I mean, I was impressed. But the PSX was very cool too. So why don't we kick it off with, we have a list of announcements from PSX that I thought were worth talking about. We're going to start off with our least exciting and hopefully wind up with our most exciting. So we're hoping to go in a more and more exciting order. So I want the people in the chat's text to get larger and larger as we go. So starting off, Square Enix announced Final Fantasy VII coming to PS4.
That made me fucking laugh, man. I was like, oh shit.
I was flipping the fuck out. I didn't even play Final Fantasy VII, and I know how important the shit is.
Uh,
And they came out like, "We're doing it," and everyone lost their shit. And then what happened? Alex, what happened?
Nope. What happened was it's basically the exact same game you played on your PlayStation, the exact same game we've played on the PC and Steam. Just gonna be able to do that yet again on your PS4.
yeah, it's the
So
laziest fucking thing. Like,
yeah.
I thought for sure if
So
they were
like,
gonna
good
do
luck.
it, like they were gonna put some sort of effort into it after all the years of people asking for this game, and wanting a
I mean,
remake of it, and that's not what they're getting. They're getting a port of the PC game, which is out. Like people can go play the game right now. So I don't know.
I think any gamer. All right, so first of all, we don't even know how much this fucking thing is going to be. Watch the price be like way higher than it needs to be.
19.99, calling it now.
Yeah. So
$49.99.
yeah, I could see 49. I could.
That'll be
That's
fucking
terrifying.
ridiculous. You can go buy that game on your phone right now, and it looks phenomenal.
So I think any gamer who has had their time with the Final Fantasy series on the PlayStation would tell you, don't fucking talk to me about Final Fantasy VII unless you're about to blow my mind. Why have they been working on this crazy hardcore effects engine? Square Enix had that crazy trailer a year or two ago.
Yeah.
They had we've seen Final Fantasy 15 in action. We've seen a glimpse at Kingdom Hearts 3. Why aren't you using that? Like, how fucking hard would it be to remake Final Fantasy VII with that? Like, how hard would that be? Final Fantasy VII, a classic game, is classic for what it is, but it's not like a super complex game to remake. People have, I mean, in fact, they even said, they were like, I mean, in the guy's horribly broken English, he's mentioned the fact that Final Fantasy VII was recreated in Little Big Planet. Somebody already did that. How have you not done it with your like crazy effect engine? Like, just fucking
Yeah,
do it.
fans have
And
put way more
instead,
effort
you make
into
3 Final Fantasy 13s. What were you saying about fans?
No, I was just gonna say that fans have put more fucking effort into bringing that game to new audiences than Square fucking has. Like it's nuts. Anyway,
it's incredibly painful to watch.
I thought it
It's
was a bit of a slap.
super frustrating to watch. Yeah.
If they just
So that
announced
was
it like
awful.
offhandedly on the internet, like on a random day, like cool. But they took time to put them up on the stage there and hype everybody, and then they're like, "Yay, here
I feel
it
like
is."
it's 2 years in a row now. Last year they came out and said, "Please be excited for E3," and you're like, okay, whatever that means. And then you show up and you're like, "Oh, Kingdom Hearts, cool. Final Fantasy, great." And then in this, they're like, "Final Fantasy VII is cut." And you're like, "Really?" Like, no, just kidding, not really. Like, fuck you. Get the fuck out of here. All right. Anyways, let's move on. God of War was not mentioned, but everyone wore God of War shirts. That pissed me off. So many people had God of War shirts, and they were like, "Yeah, we made God of War. Anyways, here's Fat Princess," and you're like, "What the fuck?"
Well, they did do that big God of War retrospective panel too, so there was a reason for everybody to have those shirts.
Well, I'm talking about the keynote.
Okay, sorry, yeah, I missed the keynote.
This is my lead-in, so to speak. They didn't actually talk about God of War on stage. The head of Sony Santa Monica's kind of had a rebranding and a bit of a reshuffle. They have a new studio and stuff. There's a really cool video out on YouTube to watch of the Sony Santa Monica people like doing their thing. But everyone wore God of War shirts, but no one talked about a new God of War game until that panel that you're talking about. Finally, they said, "Okay, fine. Yes, we're making a new God of War." And then that was it. Like, everybody pounced on that. Like, really? When is it coming out? What is it? Is it a prequel? Who's going to be the star? Like, what is it? And they were just like, nothing. Nope. Can't say anything. We're not fucking saying anything. But they did say that they're working on one. I really feel like they should have just said that on stage. Because if you're going to if you can't shut up and keep your mouth shut about it throughout an entire retrospective, which is, again, all kinds of shitty. Like, I don't know why you would talk about it without having anything, right? You can't cough it up and still not have anything to show or talk about or whatever. Like, I don't know. That was weird. Um, let's see. Also at the PlayStation Experience, we saw what we talked about already. Until Dawn looked terrible. The Order 1886, more gameplay. I don't think there was anything specific about the PSX 1886 gameplay. I think it was just an extended look, a lot like Until Dawn.
Mm-hmm.
On to Street Fighter. I kind of liked this. Adam Boyes came out and said that Ultimate Street Fighter 4 is coming to the PlayStation 4. And then they had this trailer, and everybody's like, yay! And then he did this great reference to the fact that Street Fighter 5 announcement and trailer was leaked the day before. And he was like, oh, you guys were expecting something else? That's super weird. And then I thought that was the moment where he was going to be like, okay, just kidding. Street Fighter 5 announced for blah, blah, blah. But he actually moved on. Like, they went on to talk about other shit for like a half an hour. And then finally he came back out and was like, okay, just kidding. Street Fighter 5 is actually coming out to the PS4.
That's awesome.
This is really interesting, though. So we've talked in the past about the fact that the next Tomb Raider game is console exclusive to the Xbox One technically for a little bit. I don't think we still have any like clear details on that,
No.
but it's going to be exclusive when it launches on the Xbox One for consoles. Street Fighter V is coming to PC and PS4, and the wording that they said is the most definitive thing I've ever heard. Adam Boyes said Street Fighter V will never be on any other consoles ever. But he used the word ever. Which, of course, we're probably going to get like Ultimate Super Mega Boner Edition Street Fighter V in the future, and that will maybe make its way to the Xbox One. Who knows? But first
Well,
of all,
Sony actually put forth a lot of money towards the publishing of that game.
Street Fighter V.
Yeah, which is
they need help.
a big reason as to why it's a PC/PS4 thing, because they put a lot of money in like firsthand to making sure that game gets done.
So I gotta say, this is kind of weird. Like I feel so. I was saying to a chat with somebody, to the fact that Tomb Raider to me feels like a bigger, more ubiquitous game brand when you're talking about like beyond video games, beyond gamers, people who just are aware of video games in general, know who Tomb Raider, like what Tomb Raider and who Lara Croft is. I think people recognize Street Fighter, especially people who grew up in the 80s and stuff, recognize Street Fighter, but Street Fighter doesn't feel like a bigger franchise. So for this to go console exclusive on one side, I think is not as bad compared to Tomb Raider. But I think it's interesting that this is never coming to the Xbox One. They've already confirmed that, and that's like set in stone. That's gonna piss a lot of people off.
Yeah, you know what?
I'm
sure it does piss a lot of people off. I mean, if I was a guy that dedicates myself to only one console, and I expect to be able to play everything on that one console, I would be pissed off. But I've never really followed that. Like, I like to have all the consoles. I like exclusives, regardless of their third-party bought, third-party timed, first-party, whatever. Like, I believe in exclusives because exclusives like really fucking drive competition. And if Microsoft gets stuck in a position where it's like, hey, we don't have Tekken, we don't have Street Fighter, and they have a couple, third-party games on everything, but they're missing. I mean, Street Fighter is fucking big, fighting game fan or not. Like, that's one of the biggest fighting games out there, especially in Japan. And I love Street Fighter myself, and I don't have a PS4 at the moment. I've been kind of waiting. I've talked about this before. I thought Infamous was going to be the game, and then I dabbled, and it wasn't the game to make me go pay $400. I think Bloodborne is going to be the game that finally makes me dip into it. I'm excited to pick it up, but yeah, I don't know. I'm for exclusives, like regardless of where they come from, for the simple fact that like at the end of the day, I'm playing on all these consoles. I need to play the exclusives, so I don't know. I'm all for it, man. Exclusives drive fucking competition. I want these guys to step up, and if they have to buy these games, buy them. It just means the other guys are gonna fight even harder to get what they need. So just I don't know. Go for it, man.
True story. I am wondering what their reaction is going to be. Is it going to be pushing harder on Killer Instinct, or does Dead or Alive make a more meaningful comeback? Because they have a fucking Xbox One Dead or Alive, like free to play or some weird shit. Like it's the most recent Dead or Alive from a couple years ago is coming to new platforms, which I don't know. But I'm
Yeah, I don't
wondering
know.
if
Dead or
they
Alive doesn't
bring
feel
that
like
back
it's
harder.
big enough to match up to the exclusivity of Street Fighter. Like, there's not much on there that's on that level in the fighting game world for me. It was like if you're gonna pull something to match that Street Fighter exclusivity,
It's
you got
Tekken.
you
Yeah.
got well no, Sony already got it. I'm thinking like they got to get Mortal Kombat. I'm talking about like games that have been on both platforms since the early days.
But
It's like,
Sony doesn't own Tekken.
but isn't Tekken? I thought Tekken was exclusive on PlayStation.
Maybe that specific version. There's a free-to-play version of Tekken. There isn't a
That's
new
crazy.
Tekken.
I've just never played Tekken on anything other than PlayStation.
Tekken
But
6 was on the 360.
okay.
Street Fighter Cross Tekken was also on the 360.
I think, and I could be wrong.
Um,
I feel like Tekken has basically been since the beginning mostly a PlayStation like franchise. I
oh,
could
for
be wrong on
sure.
that.
In
So,
fact, I think Tekken 6 was the only one that was on 360, and I remember being like pissed
well, there you
because
go, and
Tekken
that's
3 was
that's
my
what I'm referring
jam.
to when I say like on the level of like Street Fighter's always been available on like everything, the Genesis, the Super Nintendo, and going all the way through. It's like it's always been all over the place for the most part on the competing consoles. So the only other game out there that I think you could steal from the fighting game fans that would equal that is sort of like Mortal Kombat. Killer Instinct isn't on the same level. They're gonna push that for sure, but there's just it's
I would
Street.
agree that Mortal Kombat would be probably the closest thing to having like a household name that would compete.
If you're gonna
So,
steal a third-party fighting game, yeah,
have you seen this gameplay?
yeah,
Have you seen
I
this,
watched the trailer, yeah.
the Street Fighter 5 gameplay? How'd that look to you? Because to me, it looked a whole fucking hell of a lot like Street Fighter 4. And I
It
mean,
it
I
did,
I
but there
get
was
that
some.
Street Fighter looks like Street Fighter, but dude, this looked like Street Fighter 4, straight up. Like if you would have told me that was Street Fighter 4, I'd be like, okay, cool, yeah.
See, I wouldn't though, man. Like, I played a lot of Street Fighter 4 and I loved it. When I watched the Street Fighter 5 trailer, like, I could see the jump in visual fidelity. It might not be as like mind-blowing as people were expecting. It wasn't as mind-blowing as I was expecting as far as the graphical jump, but the details
I
are
mean, for them
incredibly
to name
higher.
it Street Fighter 5, yeah,
And the
I would
particle
expect.
stuff, like when I almost thought it was a bit too much. Like when or when Ryu was throwing his hurricane kick and his dragon punches and stuff. Like I found some of the effects that were
It's
added
pretty
for that.
messy.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
took over like a lot of the screen and kind of blocked my view of the opponents a bit when I was watching it. But the detail and the particle work and the effects that are happening on that is like it's pretty fucking gorgeous to look at. It's really it reminds me a little bit of some of like Disney's work in a sense. The animation and the visual quality of it is pretty fucking cool.
So the last thing about the Street Fighter